Thor Love and Thunder is officially out. I already did my spoiler-free review on what I thought of the film, but now I can go into a few more details in regards to why I felt the way I did in that review. If you missed it, I said it was somewhat of a mixed bag for me because of various factors that I'm going to get into here. So again, there will be spoilers in this. If you want the spoiler-free thoughts, I did like a 9-10 minute video. That's over there. I'll have it pop up and you guys can go check that out. But essentially in the review, I go over some of the pacing issues I had. More or less, I talk about how there was this tonal shift that was constantly happening where you would have a super serious moment. The next scene would be all about humor. Then the scene after that, it goes back to super serious and then back to hard humor and making jokes that almost seem like that they set Thor back almost. That's kind of how I felt about it. Where he comes off so naive, like it's almost like a teenager in the body of a god. And it just felt weird to me. Like they straight up play up that element to a almost nauseating degree to me. I don't know if maybe I missed something and this is all sort of a part of the direction and plan that they're going with, and you know, I missed some sort of giant plot point in the MCU so far that was like, oh no, Thor is supposed to be like this now, because the last time we saw him, you know, he was Thor, like at his peak with powers and confidence and striking Thanos and everything, and here we catch up with him and he comes off as a comedy relief character that's bumbling around pretty much the entire film. And again, it's all tonal complaints that I really have about this film and the length of the film. Otherwise, though, I thought the film visually had some of the best stuff I've seen in an MCU film. And I'm not just talking about the CG here, even though there is a couple of moments that look a little wonky. And there's one specific moment in a fight versus Gore at the end where I was like, boy, that just looked like two rag dolls just kind of being smashed together. It almost felt like Star Wars Attack of the Clones-ish to me, where Yoda is flipping around Count Dooku, and you're like, I can tell that none of this is real. It kind of felt like that. Otherwise, though, I thought the film did a very good job of introducing us to this new Jane, you know, that we haven't seen in forever, how she got her powers and all that, the cancer and everything. But unfortunately, again, we get to the tonal whiplash where she's literally on the boat and they're flying towards what could be their last literal moments together. And we have her telling Thor about the cancer. And we're literally cutting over to scenes of Valkyrie and Korg dropping comedy bits. And they're literally like 10 feet away from one another. It's just a little weird to me. Again, I know people that absolutely love the Thor films are going to hate me for this. I know. I can already tell you're like madly typing away at your keyboard and you're going to bring up, oh, but you love this movie that does it, like Spider-Man Far From Home. The difference is Spider-Man is a teenager trying to get away on a vacation and forget everything that just happened that traumatized his entire generation. So if they're on vacation trying to have some fun and relax and being teenagers, that's okay. When you have a guy who's thousands of years old and he's doing the same thing and comes off even a little bit worse than the teenagers in these other films, like, I don't know, it just doesn't work with me. Sorry, that's the best thing I could say to you people that are going to be mad at me and now accuse me of being a DC show or whatever. You know, it's a given week, so I'm always flip-flopping between what I show for, apparently. Either way, though, it didn't click with me. There's also a bunch of scenes with Zeus that honestly do work for me, because Zeus was perfect. I don't know why people think Zeus is this great warrior that was like super ripped and he was all about war and I'm the greatest of all time and look at me, look at this perfect bod. No! Zeus was that for a tiny little fraction of who Zeus was. If you ever picked up a history book, you would know that Zeus was literally how they played him up in this. He was full of himself. He didn't want to help others. It was all about me. It was all about surrounding himself with yes men and yes women, and about trying to do ridiculous things, and about not caring about anything up until it directly impacts him or he's hurt. They got Zeus perfect in this. It was very welcoming, honestly, to see this. And again, this all kind of, as you understand now, probably, all these pieces on their own, I think, would work better, but when they're meshed together into an hour and 50 minutes, and it's rapid fire and things are moving so fast, it comes off a little weird. Like, why was Thor in Thor 1 and Thor The Dark World more confident than the Thor we have here? Why? And also, why did they decide to, by the end of the film, literally give us Eternity, which I thought was great. I mean, they gave you Eternity, like, straight out from the comics. You see Eternity, you're like, wow, that's ballsy, okay. And you got to see some Celestials. That's cool. That's amazing. Man, I want to know more about this and all these other gods there, but they don't really get too much into any of it. Like, if you don't know who Eternity is from the comics, you probably have some questions. You're like, what? Help. Fill in the blanks. What's going on? Combine that with the death of Jane Foster that, honestly, it didn't do much for me. Like, oh, she died. Yup, she did, but her character development has been almost non-existent up until this film, and then this film, it's rushed through. Like, you literally get 2 flashbacks that really establish a Jane that we can find and care about, and combined they have a runtime of maybe 3 minutes, and that's it. It didn't do much for me. I don't know, just many of the things in the film just didn't work for me the way I thought that they should. And again, I'm going to agree with many people that say it was probably a lot of the comedy bits that kind of took some of the weight away, which that's really where it goes for me. And the length of the film, I think, is a big one as well. But overall, it's not the worst thing I've seen. I do enjoy it. It's my second favorite Thor film. I'm going to rewatch it at least 2 more times this weekend, and maybe I'll change some of my opinions now that I kind of know what's coming at me. Maybe I can look if they telegraphed some of these elements, you know, very early on or something. But if there was one film that I felt like in this phase felt like a film where they said, we need to go back to slapstick and Guardians is a little further away, make it Thor, I would believe them, because the Guardians are in this, and this felt like those slapstick comedy moments you get from Guardians, but many of the actual elements that should, you know, bring the plot to a pretty serious moment and a crescendo moment and a moment where you care about everything don't land as good as they did in the Guardians. I don't know why. Maybe it's because Thor acts like a child. Which honestly brings me to the end of the film, which is one of the elements I love. Once Gore's daughter, Love, is brought back, well, Love and Thunder are a new team. The title was describing literally the end of the film. That's their name. And Thor is going to be an adoptive father to Love, and he's going to do everything that Odin never did. He's going to raise her right. He's going to do everything that we didn't see and that was never done by Zeus. That's awesome. That's great. But are we going to go to Thor 5 and we're going to suddenly age them up 5 years and Love is going to be a really interesting character considering her background? And is Thor still going to be childish? Like, she had more mature moments in this than him. And there's a moment at the end where she gets angry and does something, and he, like, you know, kind of like gets mad at her for ruining a pan or whatever, and it's like, he's a father figure, he's mad she did something childish. It's like, Thor, you were just doing that the scene before this. Yeah, tonal whiplash is what this film gave me. Should have been a little bit more or one or the other, but it should not have tried to meet everything in the middle and end up being what it was. I kind of understand why the fan base is split on this one.